podcast, which started out as a podcast just to talk about the Joe Sixpack Racing League. So that's why if you're watching right now on the bottom of the screen, it says Joe Sixpack Racing League, Season 3, Week 8. The Cup cars on Sunday. The Next Gen cars will be at Kentucky, 75 laps. Last night we did Truck League at the Phoenix Rallycross course. And just like everything else, when something updates, the setting we used for the trucks in Season 2 didn't work last night. So we had to delay the start of the race and the setup last night till about 7:15, 15 minutes late, while I scrambled to find a setup that would actually work. And we ended up, I forget which one we ran, but it was another dirt track that we ran. And it was quite fun watching everybody drive around the track. So that was our Tuesday night league. So I'd like to introduce, you probably already know this guy if you're on iRacing and on the Facebook forums. He's pretty well known. Jeff McConey from the McConey Setup Shop. How you doing, Jeff? Welcome to the Joe Sixpack podcast, and thanks for reaching out. When I first started asking for guests, when I was branching out with the podcast, one of the posts I put up on, I think it was iRacing Leagues or something, and then everybody started asking to be a guest, and all of a sudden there you pop up in my messages, and I'm like, cool, I was waiting for you. So tell me a little bit about yourself. We were talking before we went on the air. You're telling me about your cat, Danica Patrick?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Danica Catrick, and she's right here with me. She'll be headbutting me throughout the night if she doesn't get enough attention. So
that's yep. Our boxer is insanely jealous, and then of course the large 16-pound cat also is quite jealous. So we were talking earlier before we went on. You've got some background in local asphalt tracks and other tracks. You mentioned Stafford, so I assume you live over in the Connecticut area.
I did. I grew up in Massachusetts near Springfield, a little town called Wilbraham. If you've ever had Friendly's ice cream, that's the one thing we're known for. And the town is actually so small that we don't have a Friendly's restaurant. We have the headquarters, which is right on the town line.
Gotcha.
Springfield right next door, and they have the restaurant. We don't even get the restaurant.
Yep. That happens a lot where the founding places end up nowhere near. We went down a quick weekend trip, a road trip down to Martinsville this weekend. And as we couldn't find a place to stay near Martinsville, so we stayed up in a town called Floyd. It's about an hour and 20 minutes away from the track. And we're driving through a town called Bassett. And I'm like, that sounds familiar. And then right over there on the side is the Bassett Furniture Company, their headquarters. So, and when did you start get interested in racing? How old were you? And what was the first, what got you into announcing at tracks? You said you announced at Stafford for a while.
I did. I really first got into racing and watching it when I was probably maybe 5 or 6 years old. I think my cousin had like a NASCAR video game, and I remember watching it and being interested there. And from there, I was like, wait, this is on like TV. This is real. I get to watch this.
Yep.
And from there, I loved the sport. I loved watching it. I was the biggest Jeff Gordon fan you'll ever meet.
There you go.
And I went to my first race in September 2009, and it was the Sylvania 301, and maybe it was the Sylvania 300. It was the Sylvania 300, and Mark Martin won it. It was his last career win. That was the first race I ever went to. And I remember I was heartbroken that Jeff Gordon didn't win. I think he led laps, but he didn't win. And I've been going to New Hampshire for years and years and years. This was the first year I didn't go there in quite a while.
Okay.
And I started announcing at Stafford. I loved going to Stafford on Friday nights.
Stafford
is 20 minutes down the road.
And it's a great amazing track. We went over there, and I was surprised how nice it is. Excuse me. We were over there last month. I think it was last month for the modified championships, and just a really nice track, well maintained, very pleasant. So that was a great place. What other tracks did you announce that? Because I see your Facebook pictures. Looks like you're working with a team, or I saw a frame of a car on one of them. Where was that taken?
Most of the work that I did was at Stafford. I only ever announced at Stafford. I believe, let's see, I helped out with a couple different teams there, a couple different modifieds. A lot, just basic stuff with those teams. But once I started with my internship, it was an internship at Stafford as an announcer.
Okay. Yep.
I sort of really got thrown into the mix pretty quickly. They gave me a lot of responsibility, which I'm not complaining about. It was amazing that they trusted me with that much.
Yeah.
And they just pretty much said, "Here's a microphone, have fun with it." And I had an absolute blast. So I don't even know how many Facebook friends. People just send me requests, and I'm like, sure, yeah, whatever, I'll accept that.
There you go.
And my profile picture is Ryan. I interviewed Ryan Preece, and at that particular race,
kidding.
It was amazing. He showed up without saying anything to us. Usually, you would let the track know that you're coming, especially someone high profile like him.
Yep.
He showed up with. It was essentially a converted box truck, it seemed like.
Wow.
And he unloaded it. Yeah, he unloaded it. It was him, his wife, and it was the car owner or the crew chief, one other person.
Yep.
So it's the three of them there. And so I get the call from Paul LaRue. I get to the track at 3 p.m. for 7 p.m. races. I do 4 hours of pre-race stuff. I get a call at 11 a.m. Jeff, we need you at the track right now. Like, Ryan Preece just rolled in, and we need you here now. And I'm gone. I made a 20-minute drive in about 10 minutes flat.
Wow.
And I get to the track, and I go up, and I start talking to him. I actually started talking to the one crew guy that was there, and I go, by the way, where's Ryan? Is he out and about? And he rolls out from under the car. He goes, no, I'm down here working on the car. And then he just rolls back under. I go, well, the track wanted to do a quick word with you, if that's all right. And he goes, sorry, I can't right now. I got to get ready for first practice. And
wow,
I mean, he was just there wrenching on the car all the way up until first practice. So he goes out. I think he was like, of 35 cars, he was like 25th. And he comes back in, and I go, hey, track wanted me to come over, ask if you're ready for an interview. He goes, sorry, car sucks. I got to get this going. Goes out, second practice, top of the board.
Oh,
brings
man.
it back in. Okay, I can talk to you now. So
well,
we do our interview.
That's cool.
And then what was amazing is this was I believe a 150 lap race or 100 lap race, something like that. I think it was 150.
Got it.
So everyone came in pit right at halfway. Ryan Preece did not have a pit crew with him. So he pitted at about lap 100 using Tommy Baldwin Racing's, the 7 NY, the famous modified there. Used their pit crew. Was at the tail end because he pitted after everybody. Drove through the field and won the race. So I did the post-race interview with him.
That had to be exciting.
Go ahead.
That had to be exciting.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely blew my mind talking to him. He's the nicest guy. And the race was sponsored by Twisted Tea. And he was sponsored by Natural Light. Mm-hmm. So he couldn't take any pictures with Twisted Tea. And I asked him, I have my things that I have to hit on.
Yep.
And so I said, well, you've won all this Twisted Tea. What are you going to do with it? He goes, I'll mix it with Natural Light and have that. It's going to be great. I go, that's as fair an answer as I can get out of the guy.
I want to just to jump back so there's scripted things. I mean, you can see it on NASCAR when, Joey Logano lifting up his bottle of Coke. So there's scripted things that they have to talk about. And do you know ahead of time what you can or cannot talk about, like a competing sponsor, or do they just say can't talk about that? It's just off the cuff?
So it depends on the context. Mm-hmm. If someone, he didn't have Natural Light on the car.
Yeah.
And it just completely slipped my mind. So he wasn't like, no one said he can't talk about Twisted Tea or anything like that because they were sponsoring the race.
Yeah.
So pretty much what they told me was make sure you mention him in victory lane. It's Twisted Tea, the Twisted Tea race and everything. Yeah. So he gave a pretty fair answer on.
Well, the answer mixing them together is great. Because Natural Light doesn't have much taste anyway to begin with.
Yeah.
I usually call that. I'm not really a beer snob. I like different beer, but in the summertime, I'll drink like Busch out of the can because you can buy a 6-pack of 16-ounce cans for like $4. Summertime, mm-hmm. I don't want to think about the beer I'm drinking. This has overtones of this and beer. Bull crap. It's hot out. I want a beer. Winter, then I'm going to sit back and have a. I can't stand that everything is IPAs, but the heavier winter beers like that. But that's cool. Was he? Who else did you meet that has of any fame?
Oh boy, I've been lucky to meet a lot of drivers just at the track doing
Yeah.
different things. I'd say the biggest name that I met while working was well, while working as an announcer, it would be Ryan Preece.
Okay.
I also had a radio show back in college, which I turned into a podcast. That was called the Bottled Up Podcast,
Cool.
and yeah, that was really fun. That let me sort of get my foot in the door in working with NASCAR. So I was credentialed at Pocono, at New Hampshire,
Well, that's
Watkins
cool.
Glen, all the different places that I could sort of get to within driving distance.
Gotcha.
This was
Yep.
back when I was 18, 19 years old. So
Yeah.
my budget was pretty much any gas I had in the tank. Yeah, I didn't have any money to go and
Sure.
Go on big trips or anything. But that was a lot of fun. That's how I actually met Anthony Alfredo. He's a great friend of mine. I've known him ever since he was running
No kidding.
K&N and watched him work his
that's
way up
cool.
through the ranks.
Yeah.
I used to joke with him. I'm like, dude, you're going to be Cup. You're going to do a year in trucks. You're going to do a year in Xfinity, and you're going to do a year in Cup. And he's like, yeah, right. And this was back when he was running K&N before he even had this deal with DGR Crossley.
Wow.
And somehow I was right.
There you go.
I have no idea how that worked out, but
yeah.
So
my son is 20. He's got the passion for racing. I'm a big fan, but he's more like you, where eat, sleep, drink, and auto racing. And he says anything that's got a motor that's going around the track, I'm going to go see it. So he's a pretty good photographer. I'm a professional photographer on the side. Only call myself professional because I've had a few showings and sold a few pieces, and somebody says, well, if you sell a piece and you're in an art show, then you're a professional. I go, I'm not going to call myself that, but anyway. And he's making all kinds of, just by hanging around the track and talking to people, he's getting into that, and he's friends with a couple NASCAR photographers and one of the chief photographers from IMSA, and he's trying to work getting himself to next season, maybe taking pictures for a couple of teams. And I don't know, did you watch the Cup race Sunday night?
I was at the track in Nashville. I sponsor William Hale's Pro Late Model, so I was down there getting ready to be one of the over-the-wall people. There were
gotcha.
2 or 3 of us that were going to go over the wall, so thankfully we didn't need to pit. So I was very glad about that.
we had seats for the whole weekend that were probably our real seats were way up at the top at the finish line. But a friend of ours that went down with us, his friends had seats for truck and Xfinity, which is like open seating at Martinsville. So we sat about halfway up. All 3 races, we were right down on the finish line. And that scuff between Hamlin and Byron happened right in front of us. So I got, I'm taking the video. I got my camera out, so I put it up on Twitter, and I got like 2 views. I'm like, oh, I suck. I only got 20 followers. Sam, meanwhile, my son, standing right next to me, he puts it up, and overnight 40,000 views. So he's a little more connected than I am. So I told him tonight, hey, I'm up to 1,400, which for me, I'm happy with that. So he's trying to work his way in. And I was talking to Andrew Thornton last night. He runs Topless Tuesday League, and he's worked on cars and such like that, and it still drives dirt. I said, is your experience like everybody else I talk to, where you start hanging around the track and you just get sucked into it, and it becomes like you said, a passion? It's something you live for, eat, sleep, and drink all day long with a lot of these race guys. Are you like that?
Oh, absolutely.
Gotcha.
You just, when you're there, the community, everyone having a good time, and it's the competition. Everyone is cheering for someone different. You have in football, there's 2 teams. In baseball, there's 2 teams. Pretty much every other sport, there's 2 teams.
That's
out on the track. There's 40 different teams that you're pulling for, 40 different drivers. So it's everyone's got their own thing, and it's not one versus the other. You can cheer for a couple people. You can be excited when different guys win. That's what really makes it special, I think.
Yeah, it's more like a high school track meet where there's 7 schools showing up running 20 different events. Yeah. So I'm almost at that point, but I'll be 60 next spring, And I'm like, I'll go watch. I'll take photographs and hang out. I don't want to be hanging out on a pit stall. If anything, if I win the lottery, I'd love to run a team and just say, okay, or sponsor somebody and say, just give me the tickets, put me up in the pit box. I'll leave you alone. If you need more money, I'll write a few more checks. But that's about where I would be. But that ain't going to happen because there's no $1 billion lotteries coming up pretty soon. So when did you get started in iRacing? What caught your interest there, and why did you get into it?
I had sort of heard about it online a couple times. This was back in 2018, I want to say I started. Yeah, June of 2018. And I, at the time, was still in college.
Okay.
Gosh, it's crazy to me. It feels like just yesterday I joined iRacing, and now I'm like, well, this is 3 years back, so I'm stretching my memory.
Yeah.
I believe I was going into my sophomore year of college. Okay. I was actually working at a golf pro shop, and it was a fairly small golf course, so, I would just watch whatever on the computer while I was waiting for more people to come in.
Yep.
And I started watching the Coke Series races and following along with those. At the time, it was the Peak Antifreeze Series, and I was like, this is pretty darn cool.
It is cool.
So I saved up. I bought a Thrustmaster TMX, not even the Pro, the Thrustmaster TMX bundle, and I signed up and started racing. Sort of from there, it just snowballed, really.
Yeah. So it says you started out with the SK and the Tour Modifieds? That's what you started racing in? Do you still do
Pretty
mostly?
Much, yeah.
What do you race right now?
Right now, I have a lot less time to race than I really wish I had. I'll run anything at this point. I've been running a lot more NASCAR stuff as of late. I've been running a lot of road stuff lately, which has been a ton of fun. I really started out and cut my teeth in maybe a small, I was recognized in the short track iRacing community. I was really... Not to brag, but I was really good in the tour mods. I was the first person to ever hit 100 wins in the tour mods. I held, and I maybe even still hold the records at Stafford, New Hampshire, Iowa, Richmond. I'm trying to think of any other tracks that I know of.
Well, that's really cool.
I was really, really good in the SK and tour modifieds, and this was back when it was all open setups. I started out, I would get my butt kicked. I would just get absolutely run over by some of the better guys.
Yeah.
And then from there, I started just building. I took the iRacing baseline. I took some rear stagger out of it. I went, oh, okay, so this lets me drive the car harder on corner exit. Then I fixed the gear ratio, and I went, okay, now I've actually got the car dialed in correctly. Then you start playing with shocks, playing with air pressure, playing with caster, and it just sort of snowballed from there. And it went from, okay, I'm running a top 5's a good race to top 3 to, okay, now I'm going out and I'm winning these things fairly often, which was a lot of fun.
Were you in engineering school at the time you started playing with the setup, so your background helped you a little, or would it be like just poking around saying, like you said, oh, this does this, let's see what this does?
A little bit of both. Okay. Definitely the engineering background that I had and the experience I had on working on real cars definitely helped. At the time, I was in the mechanical engineering technology program at Purdue. I graduated in May of this year.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And yeah, that definitely helped a lot. And that was really the first time with the modifieds was where I started realizing, okay, a setup is actually going to make a difference. It's actually really important how the car is underneath you in order to be quick.
Right. Tell me about, what do you got here? The Richmond Raceway Esports. What was that all about, and when did you do that?
Oh man, that was the moment that I realized this. I could at the time I was about 7-8 months into Marconi Setup Shop. I started in March of 2020. Okay. Yep. Really started doing it consistently in May, and then in June we launched the website. Gotcha. So in December of last year, of 2020, I just reached out to Richmond Raceway Esports and I said, "Hey, tell me what the prices are to sponsor a team." And at the time, we were making, really the overhead costs are pretty low on a setup shop. That's what's really nice is
right.
we make one product and we sell multiple copies of that exact same product.
Gotcha.
So the costs are relatively low.
Mostly
and
just
so
time.
if you do it right, you can make money for yourself and keep the business going, as well as give back into the community and things like that.
So what is Richmond Raceway Esports?
They are a team that runs up in the Coke Series, the highest level of racing on the asphalt oval side.
Okay.
Big popular races that are actually sanctioned by eNASCAR.
Yep.
So these were being broadcast in front of tens of thousands of people every single race. And they're a very solid team. They have 2019 champion Zach Novak and Jimmy Mullis, who's won plenty of races.
Wow.
Still chasing that championship, which it will come soon. I can promise you that championship's going to come soon. But
I remember watching one of them when they were on, it was NASCAR HubSpot or something like that, or one of the NASCAR TV shows on one of the sports channels was running those races live, and it was so funny because you see it on the screen like what it was at Daytona, and you're like, okay, it looks like Daytona, but wait a minute, it's a cartoon. And the announcers are there, and I'm like, this is kind of weird, but it's cool. Then they cut to one of the drivers, some 17-year-old kid, and he's in his bedroom. You see his bed and the pillows all messed up in the back. And then 10 minutes later, he won $40,000 because he won the race. And I'm like, this is really flipping cool, because they're cutting back and forth from, the screen on Daytona to the in-car camera, and then showing the two guys. One guy's in his bedroom and the other one is in the family living room. And you can see the family walking by in the background and the dog barking. And I'm like, you might want to get your family out of there because you got a lot of money on the line. So, and then recently, I think just within the last year or so, the prize money's up to $300,000 for one of the leagues. It's really growing.
Yeah, $330,000 was the prize pool for this year. Winner takes home $100,000, which is
wow.
It's really insane. And then I think second place gets like $25,000, third place gets $10,000, fourth place gets $5,000. It's just
that's up
crazy.
It's up from $40,000 that a 17-year-old kid won a couple years ago in first place. He just broke down. He was so emotional, and I said, I'd probably do the same thing. The kid's in high school. And he's probably saying, well, I'll never make the Fortnite championships and all that stuff, so I'll do iRacing. It was really cool. So when did you said you started Maconey Setup just last year? Yeah,
in March of 2020. And way back when, that was unheard of to sell setups. People, you had VRS, which was $5 a month. It was like a subscription thing.
Yeah, I used that.
Right, and it was very popular. Still is very popular. Yeah. $4, $5, $10 a month, whatever they charge now. I haven't.
I think
on their website.
I think it's
worth it. You will absolutely get your money's worth out of VRS. Yes. Granted, you get what you pay for. You're not going to go out and win races, but you'll have a solid car and it'll be comfortable, and you can go out and race and compete. Absolutely. But nobody was really selling anything that was competitive, that could go out and run up front, and nobody sold setups individually. That was unheard of, to sell one setup at a time. Yeah. So that was something we started up and really, really changed. And then there's been a bunch of copycats afterwards, but we were the first. We started up in March of 2020, and it's been an amazing ride ever since.
So in 18 months, you've gone from selling a couple setups to being the 800-pound gorilla in the room.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Cool. We started out, and it would be pretty much gas money for the week, and I made all the setups, and I would sell them, and we'd sell like 5 or 10 setups a week at $5 each. And it was like, okay, this is awesome. I don't have to pay for gas. Right.
Yeah.
And then we sort of August of last year, all of a sudden it took off. Yeah. It just blew up in August.
Wow.
And ever since then it's been, you have the website with the fully automated store. So you can just go in, you click what you want, you buy it, you download it, and you're out there, you're ready to go. And we've done sponsorships, we've done coaching sessions, we've hired on more people. It got to the point where I was no longer building setups myself. It was off put to everybody else.
Right.
And so that let me sit back and run the company and manage things.
Manage the business instead of running
the
it.
scenes.
Yeah. Manage it instead of working it. That's pretty smart. That's a good way to do it. How many, what do you call your setup people? Engineers, designers, or they just have a term? Or, hey, Joe, can you do this car for me?
I usually call them builders. Engineers is a great word for it. They're all amazing people. And so we've actually got the longest running crew of setup builders. If you look at other places, it's just a revolving door. It's someone new building it each season, sometimes each week.
Yeah.
And we've got the same crew that we've had since the beginning. A couple changes here and there, mostly growing and adding on. But our newest member has been on and part of the setup building crew for longer than most other places have their most senior employee.
How many
people change and move around so quickly?
How many builders do you have working for you?
Oh, man, let's see. So you have Lee Overton and Chris Van Scoy and their team over at Overton Speed Shop.
Yep.
So I count them as one because it's Overton Speed Shop. They do our NASCAR stuff, Cup, Xfinity Truck, Next Gen. Then you have Tyler Shattuck, who does our Legends, Super Late Models, and Silver Crowns. You have Trevor Edwards, and this is in no particular order, who does our SK mods and Tour mods. You have River Hayes and Bill Gross, who both do our late models. They work together on those. Daniel Civisfavo, who does our road stuff, F3, LMP2, GT3, GT4, and the Porsche 992. Jacob Harberts does our dirt late models, and then Aaron Siciliano did our winged sprints and got those all running. He's got a bad case of life getting in the way. How dare he? So he's going to be, I think, stepping back towards the end of the season. Mm-hmm. So we've got 8 setup builders.
Wow.
Then we also have 2 people that manage the social medias, the Twitter and the Facebook. Yep. We have someone that manages our Discord. We have 2 graphic designers who do our paints. Jordan Spoon and Gavin Newton. The social media people are Derek Rice and Presley Sora.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, we have...
You're getting like Hendrick Motors there. He's going to have 300 people working for you pretty soon like they do.
I know. I think I'm up to like 15 people now. And
wow.
It's just amazing how it all came together. And then we have Jimmy Mullis and Zach Novak both do coaching for us. Okay. So for $25 an hour, you can go in and work directly with them. We had... I want to say like 3 or 4 sessions already this week off the top of my head.
Okay.
I've heard nothing but great things from both customers and the coaches. Like they are saying, Zach and Jimmy are saying it is so much fun to do this. So like we want to keep doing it. It's a lot of fun. Yep. And the customers go, I can't believe how much I can learn in just, an hour of working with a pro.
Yep. Yeah. Every once in a while I'll like I told you, I'm technically kind of like back in the Stone Age, back when there were record players and 8 tracks. That's my era. You said you went to your first race in the 2000s. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That sounds so close, but it's 20 years ago. And I remember I was watching, NASCAR on TV back on Wide World of Sports on ABC back in 1970. So there's, so it's been around for a while. Question: if you get 2 people, they're running in just pick a race, like one of the races I'm sponsoring, the Lone Star Toys for Tots charity race on November 28th. 2 people call you up and they're running a race that's open. One guy gets this setup. If they want a custom setup from you, how different would you make them? Or would you tell them, hey, I'm going to give you the same setup that Joe Blow has? How do you differentiate it? How do you change it so it's not like, hey, I paid for this setup and the other guy's got the same one? How do you handle that?
Well, that really depends on how much information we're given from the customer. So if we get, let's say the first person, assuming they order it at 2 different times, let's say the first person comes to us and says, I want, what did you say the car and track combo was?
Oh, I don't know. It's it's a fixed race, but let's just say it's at Kansas. It's 150 laps, and just say that it's open setup Gander Mountain. The trucks.
Right. So if the first person comes to us and says, I got a truck race at Kansas, weather is afternoon. We'll go, okay.
Got it.
that really doesn't give us much information. So we'll
Okay.
load up the trucks at Kansas in the afternoon using as basically everything is just generated by iRacing.
Yep.
And we'll put something together that we think is good. If the second person comes to us and says, I'm going to be running a Chevy Silverado at Kansas, it's going to be at 4:30 p.m. in sim on November 28th in sim, and this is how I like the car. I like it a little bit snug on exit. I know I'm going to drive the right front off of it. Then we can go, okay, so we need a setup that's going to protect the right front, is snug on exit. We have the exact weather, time of day, all the information, and we know which manufacturers are going to be.
Got it.
Usually the manufacturers are all the same. So you can build a Chevy setup in a Toyota. It doesn't matter. But if they specifically tell us what they're going to do, we'll match it.
Got it.
So it all depends how much information we're giving.
Yep.
So if you're watching this and want a custom setup, we absolutely do those. But when you do it, the more information you give us, the better. The more you tell us what you like in the car. You can tell us all as much as you possibly can.
Got it.
Because the worst we'll do is just say, okay, that's not relevant. I don't care if your truck's blue. But if you say you like it snug on exit, okay, now we know we can make it snug on exit.
Got it. No, that sounds because I don't run many actually since we started the Joe Sixpack Racing series. We've got Next Gen on Sunday, we've got Trucks on Tuesday, Legends every other Wednesday, and we're starting a Formula V road course in January. I don't run regular iRacing stuff, maybe just in the week when there's nothing going on. But when I did run open, I would only run open just because sometimes I like the longer race over Xfinity, which is 30 laps, and the A is like 70 or 80 laps. I would just go on and download VRS and be happy with that. And so the question, driving ability versus setup. It's like if you're a terrible basketball player, $1,000 pair of Air Jordans isn't going to make you any better. What's the sweet spot in a driver's ability to drive where the setup really starts to make the difference, or is there a sweet spot?
The key to it all, and it's, I don't usually share this secret, but what I have always found to work best is practicing. If you go out and you turn laps and you work on it and you see what works and you try different things, that's what makes all the difference. But if you go and 2 minutes before the race, download the setup, and then let's say you run B Open, which is at 8 p.m. Eastern, and you download that setup at 7:58, and then you message me at 8:45 saying, hey, this setup isn't any good, I'm going to go back and I'm going to look and I'm going to say, okay, he bought this 47 minutes ago. He put no practice in, and now he's saying it's not any good. So I'm going to say, okay, how much did you practice? Well, I jumped in the race. Why? Why would you do that? So
that's a good point.
The key to it all is practicing and not being afraid to ask questions. So that's why we have our Discord pasted all over our website. Right on the main page, it's over on the right side. A link right to our Discord. We put it up on our social medias. We tell people as often as possible, go to that Discord, because if you have a question, ask it in the general chat. I respond to a lot of them. The builders respond to a lot of them. Even just random other people respond to them. Not everyone in there is a customer. We've got, last I checked, 600 something people in that Discord.
Wow, that's a lot.
Not every one of them is a customer.
Yeah. So let's say I buy a setup and I practice like several days before the race, and there's something that I don't like. My right front tire is wearing out too quick, and I call you back up. Do you do any free follow-ups, or when do you start charging for new adjustments with customers? Or do you?
Adjustments, never.
Really?
As long as, if you do a coaching session and you want to work on the setup in that session, we're going to charge for that because we're jumping in, we're giving you one-on-one attention.
Right.
But people ask me questions all day long. I get them on my personal Facebook, the company's Facebook. I get them on Discord in the chat on the Discord page from Marconi Setup Shop. I get people DMing me.
Yep.
Any way that I've got people email me, right? Any way that you can get in contact with me and you've got a question, I'm more than happy to answer it. You may not get an answer right away. It sort of depends on when I see it.
Sure.
If you send me a chat on Google Plus, I'm probably not going to see that for like 3 or 4 days, and my first question is going to be, "Why are you using Google Plus?" But if you send it
I didn't think
to
that was
my
still around.
Facebook Messenger or my Discord, yeah, I'll be able to respond to that pretty quickly and help people out. But if you are asking legitimate questions and trying to learn and improve and practicing, always more than happy to help. But if you just message me and say, "I'm slow," okay,
you're slow. Got it. Yeah.
Can you give me a little bit of information on it? Can you tell me what it's doing? Can you give me, and it sort of goes back to earlier, the more information that you can give, even if you think it means absolutely nothing.
Yep.
Like I ask people when they order a custom setup, what's the sky going to look like in the sim? Oh, well, it's going to be partially cloudy. Why does that matter?
Makes a big difference.
Because that makes a big difference.
You see, even I know that. That's about all I know.
Right.
Yeah.
If you can tell me what the temperature is going to be, if you can tell me the ambient temperature, that makes all the difference.
Sure.
I mean, when I was running the tour mods, we had 2 different setups. One for if the track was below 110 degrees, and one if it was above 110 degrees. That's how precise it can be depending on the situation.
Speaking of precise, on iRacing, where they have the qualifying setup and the race setup, what basically is the difference? Why would I want a qualifying setup for qualifying and then run I know why a different setup for racing, of course, but what's different in qualifying that I need a special setup for qualifying if I'm going to be really competitive?
So with qualifying setups, it sort of depends on what you're looking for. For NASCAR stuff, you're really going to be, especially next gen, where you can't even change the tape, there's really not much that can be done. You can squeeze a little bit more out by leaning more on the right front. You're not worried about saving tires.
Right.
You can, you're gonna loosen the car up and make it right on the edge. But you're not really doing too much crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But for other series like the modifieds, the legends, the late models, you are throwing something completely different at it. You can run a different spring package because you have less fuel in it. The ride heights are going to be different. You're going to be leaning on the right front.
Yep.
If you look at if you take a NASCAR qualifying setup and compare it to a race setup, it's going to be pretty similar. You got the same fuel load. You're just going to be changing a few things around, tweaking it, playing with air pressures, and adding tape if you can. But for the short track stuff, for the road stuff, especially for the dirt stuff, because you're racing in a completely different track condition, that qualifying setup is built for 1 to 2 for 2 laps in this case, where you're just going absolute all out, getting everything you can out of the car.
Well, that makes sense.
Especially on the dirt side, yeah.
Yeah. Your services and fees. Let's say I'm running a 26-week open, and it's different track every week. Do you have subscription prices for that? Do you have like hey, I need the setup, or tell you how does that work when you're working with a team or with a driver, and he says, "Here's my schedule, here's the tracks," and like that. How do you work that for multiple races?
For custom setups over an extended period of time, we'll just invoice people. If you order 6 setups and they're $15 each, it would come out to $90. Okay, we'll do it because you're ordering 6 of them, and we'll do it for 75 or 80 or something like that.
Got it. Okay.
And we just get that information from them. But for like official series, we've got monthly subscriptions, and we were the first setup shop to go from individual setups to monthly subscriptions as well, and offer both.
Yeah.
And still really the only ones to offer a true monthly subscription.
Got it.
That you can, and what's crazy about the subscriptions is they really do save a ton of money, because people came to me and they're like, well, I'm buying these setups every single week, and it gets expensive at $7 a week.
Yeah. And
so I went, okay, so for one car, it's $7 for one setup. For an entire month, it's going to be $8. For NASCAR, it's $9 per setup. Per car, it's either $10 or $12. I'm not sure off the top of my head. But for all 3, it's $20 for the entire month.
Yep.
So if you buy top Xfinity truck for 1 week, you are saving money by getting the entire month.
Got it.
All of the asphalt stuff is $30. Every single setup for over 20 different cars is $50 for an entire month. It saves so much money by just putting a subscription in and bundling it all together. And we found we offered this program at the lower prices, and we make more money. We have more customers and more engagement, all of that by helping people save money. So everybody sort of wins in the end.
And you know what your income stream is going to be for the month ahead of time.
Right.
For the most part. So does anybody, when they, let's say, like I said, we'll get back to a 26-week series or something like that. Does anybody tell you, okay, I need this by a certain date because I practice on Wednesday, so I need it by Tuesday night? And so you have drivers that do that too. They tell you they need it by a specific day and time for their practicing.
Right. And I tell everybody it's 4 to 7 days lead time on a custom setup.
Got it.
So if you come to me and say, hey, I have a race tomorrow, okay, that's really cool, but you knew about this 2 months ago.
Yeah, buy it off the website instead.
You're coming to me at the last second. I can't drop everything,
Gotcha. So it was, I want to say, just around the pandemic time, there was a lot of scuttlebutt on Facebook, and it seems to have gone away because I'm in probably 15 or 20 different iRacing groups, plug in my podcast, plug in recruiting for the league and such. And there was some really heated discussions that went on and on and on that setup shops are ruining iRacing. What is your thought on that?
I understand that thought process. I understand that opinion, and I fully respect it. They're absolutely correct that there are some groups that are out here ruining iRacing and doing things that are detrimental to the community in order to make a quick buck. And I've said it from the beginning. There are groups that are going to scam you. There are groups that are going to fly by night. I'm not going to name names, but whatever place just popped into your mind when I said that, you're probably correct.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's a lot of people that have done a lot of really bad things. And there's a lot of people that have done a lot of really bad things that most people don't know about. And
gotcha.
There's so much that goes on behind the scenes that you wouldn't believe. I had to, last year, about this time, I actually had to hire an actual real life lawyer because of the things that were going on. It's insane to me that I'm getting sent death threats over
holy crap.
I was getting stalked. I was getting sent death threats. I had people stealing my work. I had people basically following me. It was not in real life, but anywhere that I went on iRacing, I would get followed. Anywhere I went online, I would get followed. It was an actual real scenario, and at that point, there's nothing you can do about it. There are bad actors out there.
Oh,
there
like
are
in anything.
people
Okay.
in the setup shop community that are flat out lying to you and scamming you. And I can't name names.
Sure.
If you ask me, and if you message me and ask me, you can ask me direct questions, and I will give you the best answer that I possibly can.
Yep.
You can read a lot off of how I say things in my inflection and the words that I choose very carefully.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
Right.
Speaking of, okay, what's to prevent somebody from buying for setups from your shop or Joe's shop across the street and going in and making like whatever adjustment that's like 1,000th of an inch or whatever, and tweaking them a little bit, changing them a little bit, and then reselling them as their own? Is there any way to stop that, or?
That right there, my friend, is the $1 million question, and that's something that's been going on.
Yeah.
So the best way to gauge if someone is legitimately building their own or if they are just absolutely BSing you is to ask them questions. And look at their actions. What are they doing for the community? Are they putting on events? Are they giving back to the community? Are they sponsoring things? Or is it just money going in and staying there in the company. So
Got it.
look out for the groups that work with other groups, that put on events, that put money back into the community. Those are the ones that you can trust are building their own stuff, that are working with other people. If their goal isn't to help people in the iRacing community, that is not somewhere you should go. And I encourage everybody to be very careful on where you spend your money, even if it's not with me. I can tell you, if you come to me and say, hey, your setups just don't work for me, where else can I go? I can give you a list of other places that are pretty good.
That's cool.
I talk to a lot of other places. Like I said, if you go to VRS, you'll get your money's worth. It's not going to be as fast.
Sure.
Sorry, that's just how it is. You're not going to be as fast.
Well, those drivers,
as we are, but it's easier. Yeah,
those drivers that are teaching you how they drive that certain track in iRacing, and they're not going to give you their setup and have you go compete against them. So they're going to give you something.
Right.
They're going to give you something that works. So
that's why anywhere where you see it's like, oh, this is built by a Coke Series driver or this World Professional. Come on. No, it's not. I'm sorry, but it's just not. That's just not true.
Yeah.
Now, with VRS, are they working on them? Probably. Are they giving them advice? Probably. Are they sitting down and personally building those setups? Maybe not. Are you running the same thing that Bobby Zelensky is running in the Coke Series?
No.
No, you most certainly are not. Right. And that's mainly because they put 40, 50, 60 hours a week into it, and those cars are borderline spinning out every single lap because that's the only way to make them really, really, really fast in the Coke Series. The only way to make passes in the Coke Series is to be looser than the other guy so you can put the car wherever you need it to go. You don't need that in an A Open. So, again,
that's true.
Not taking shots at VRS, but in an A Open, you're not going to be up against the best drivers in the world.
No.
You're going to have a mix of really, really, really good guys and really, really, really bad guys.
Yeah.
You need something that'll get you around the track quickly. So is it what they're running in the Coke Series? No. Is it something that would work in an A Open? Absolutely.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm saying that specifically for VRS. I want to emphasize that. That is specifically VRS. I'm not taking shots at Bobby or Keegan or any of those guys.
Oh, sure.
But specifically for VRS. Now, other places, if they're like, yeah, Coke driver's building this, I'm not so sure. But what do I know? I just do this for a job.
I got you. Oh, speaking of, you mentioned that you're working for Hankook Tire.
I do. Yep. I reached the point over the summer where my lease had sort of ended where I was living at Purdue in July.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, well, I can continue on with Marconi Setup Shop, which obviously I'm going to do. This Marconi Setup Shop is going to run until iRacing shuts down. That's my goal with it. And I genuinely do mean that. Now, we may 10 years down, 5 years down the line have to scale back operations because, hey, iRacing is slowly fizzling out. But that's years down the line.
Yeah.
For now, Marconi Setup Shop is here. We're here to say we're going to keep doing everything that we're doing and continue to grow and expand. There's so much cool and exciting stuff coming for next year. I can't announce yet, but oh my God, I'm so excited for it.
Oh, speaking of stuff coming along, how much of an influence has Dale Jr. had since he's hooked up with iRacing?
Dale has been able to get a lot of things done and bring a lot of people in. I'd say his biggest contribution is his ability to get people interested. People see Dale Jr. do something and they immediately want to do it too. That's been a huge contribution. So getting the name out and marketing it has been absolutely awesome of him to do. And bringing the 87s in, I may personally not enjoy driving those cars, and people are going to have strong opinions about that. Personally, they're not for me. I don't particularly enjoy them, but that's just me. That's just my opinion on it.
I haven't driven them yet, but they've gotten extremely popular.
There's
a lot of guys running them, and I think you hear. I listen to NASCAR MSN or whatever, their NASCAR radio on Sirius XM quite a bit. I'm a garden designer and landscaper by trade, so I spend a lot of time in my truck. And I love Dave Moody. The guy, my daughter, who does not like racing, says, I'll listen to that guy any day of the week because he's funny. And he gets these guys that call him up, And he says, "Well, we got to go back to the way it used to be. You know, they're ruining NASCAR." And then he drags them out and he says, "What are they ruining?" "Well, you know, the cars they're not. What's different?" And he really goes at him. He says, "You mean you want to go back to the '70s when Richard Petty was winning races and the second place car was 6 and 7 laps down, and the race was like the Daytona 500 or whatever it was over on lap 25 because Joe Blow or Labonte or something like that is driving around." He goes, "You really want to go back to that?" "Well, maybe not that, but just a certain part of it." And he goes, "Well, look, if you want to go back to that, you got to go all the way back."
Right.
And it says,
yeah.
And he says, "Now let me ask you." He says, "Is it the nostalgia, or do you really think racing was better back in the '70s than it is today?" And he says, "No, it's the nostalgia. When they, see the guys driving around and Dale Earnhardt Sr. smoking a cigarette while he's driving and he's reaching out with his hand going around the track, cleaning the dirt off." He says, "Yes, nostalgia, because you think about it, and it's like your regular cars that are on the road today. Oh, go back to '73 Impala, it was the best car ever. Really, they barely had steel belted radials by then. The tires wore out in 500, let's say 15,000 miles. You had to change the brakes every 3 months. They wore out. The cars rusted out in 3 years. Yeah, they were only $400, maybe $2,500 cars then. But do you really want to go back to having your brakes and your tires having to be changed a couple times a year?" The guy's, "Oh, not really." So,
yeah.
So there's nothing to prevent somebody from tweaking and reselling. There's not a trade. Can you put a trademark on your design or a patent?
They are protected under intellectual copyright. So we have, if we've had that before with people reselling our stuff, and that goes back to the lawyer. He actually he's phenomenal. He deals with basically internet intellectual property, products done over the internet, work created by you is inherently yours, and the fact that we're selling it and have it stated in there and everything. So we have a method of proving what is ours. We know what setup we have sold, and if that setup has been tampered with and resold. Now, people that say, "Oh, well, we know if you're sharing the setup," no, they don't. No, they don't. You can jump into a lobby and you can hit share to everyone, but you've spent the money and they all haven't. So that sort of is a natural deterrent for people on doing that. But some people will just share them for free for everybody, and those people do that. And if you get into a lobby with one of those people, be sure to say thank you, because they are spending their personal money to do that. So that's one thing, is taking it and sharing it to your buddies. If you take a setup and share it with your friends, "Oh no, whatever will I do?" Okay, that happens. I get it. There's nothing that any shop can do to prevent that.
It's like sharing your Netflix account.
Stealing and reselling and making
story.
a profit off of my work, that's different. That is something that will absolutely come back and bite you in the butt.
Right. Is that why you formed the LLC last year, or what was the? Because you mentioned that you had some pretty strong opinions in the bio you sent me about setting up your LLC.
Mm-hmm. What? So we set up as an LLC. Not only does it, the benefits of setting up as an LLC, a limited liability corporation, is it separates my personal assets from the business. If somebody were to sue the company, they wouldn't be able to take my personal assets. Gotcha. Which is important. I don't want to put my money, my car, my house, my possessions, everything on the line if someone happens to sue. So having that protection and separation from personal to business is a huge benefit. However, it does also come with a lot of things. So you have to pay a lot of money to be incorporated. You have to upkeep with different business records. You have to maintain tax records. You have to work with all of your people. So everybody, we pay taxes on everything. We are considered a legitimate business recognized by the United States government, and we're registered in the state of Florida because at the time I was a resident of Florida. I had the Florida citizenship. We are registered there. So the state of Florida says this is a company headquartered in Florida. And the United States government says this is a legitimate business entity that does work and can be held responsible for their actions. If you are buying from a company that is not an LLC and registered as such, you are at risk of a fly-by-night operation. If I fly by night, At this point, I'm a public figure. People know who I am. I get recognized.
Yeah.
If I go to a racetrack, people know me. I'm not going to go to Walmart and get recognized. But if I'm down, I got recognized 4 or 5 times at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway,
Yeah.
which was really cool.
Cool.
But there's no way that I can take that and just fly and be gone. Not that I ever would, but like there's now penalties and responsibilities. We have paperwork we need to upkeep. We have we actually pay taxes. Like a lot of other groups are able to operate around things like that and not pay taxes, and that has come back and bit a few of them. But
just pay friends and family.
I know? I only do this as a full-time job.
So, just playing devil's advocate, why would I sue McConey Setup Shop? Because my setup didn't win me the eNASCAR $300,000 championship, or why? Just wonder why somebody would sue a setup guy.
Outside can sue for anything. Technically, you don't need any grounds to sue somebody, but now it's protected from if someone sues me. Okay, that's just a civil case. Whatever, I don't know why anybody ever would. I don't see any reason. I don't think I've angered anybody that much to the point where they would do that. But if they were to sue the company even on just absolutely ridiculous grounds, I'm not at risk at that point.
Gotcha.
So is that ever going to happen? Probably not. There's a very, very, very small chance of it.
Yeah.
But we more so did it for having that credibility and legitimacy as an actual recognized company.
Right, because you have responsibility to the government to make sure that you operate, because they say, okay, we'll recognize you as this, so you got to do this, this, and this. So, okay, you ever going to go? Ever going to go public?
Standards that we have to meet when we are paying our employees. We have paperwork with all of them saying, yes, I understand. Like, this is the agreement. We have all of that stuff. And another big thing with it, besides, not being able to fly by night and all that, is it lets us work with actual legitimate groups. So when we signed the contract with Richmond Raceway Esports, and that was a whole contract, we announced that deal in February. We started negotiations in December on a contract, and we went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth with different things. And this was like a 20-page contract. I can't say how much it was for. I can't say what's in it.
Okay.
But I can say it does require, Richmond Raceway Esports is owned by NASCAR. That's not secret information, right?
So I didn't know that.
We're working with NASCAR. The contract that I signed is on file at NASCAR Corporate's headquarters. And we have to have insurance. I don't know. I don't know if I can say how much the insurance is valued for.
Okay,
but it's an absolutely insane, unbelievable, you cannot believe your mind amount of money is what we're covered for just on the possibility of breach of contract. So we can be sued for up to 7-figure dollar amount over something that we, do. Would that ever happen? Would we ever cause 7-figure dollar amount worth of damage?
Not intentionally.
No. We would have to really screw something up.
Gotcha.
But they can, if we, let's say, breach contract and we do 5-figure dollar amount in damages. Yeah, it could be worth it for them to go after us, and that insurance helps protect us on things like that.
Got it. Okay.
Registering as an LLC really, really, really helps with that.
Yeah.
Now, the people over at Richmond Raceway Esports are phenomenal. That is only in there because of situations like DC Solar and things like that, where it all goes down in flames and somebody has to foot the bill.
Yeah.
And that's what it's for. But if we didn't have that and we weren't a legitimate company, we wouldn't be able to sign that deal with a legitimate group.
Everybody's covering their ass, basically.
Everybody's protected in that case. Yeah. But when larger groups like tracks like Stafford Motor Speedway, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, Five Flags Speedway, and all these Speed 51, all these other large groups that have, from the real world, that have come to us and said, we want to work with you, it's part of it is because we're really the only legitimate company that takes this seriously and went through the proper procedures to do things right.
Well, it kind of makes sense because let's say eNASCAR gets real popular, like 10,000 people showing up to watch the Fortnite championships or whatever. and it's in an auditorium. And Johnny's grandmother brings him. Her grandmother trips and falls over something to her seat in the auditorium. Guess what? Everybody gets sued, including right down to the setup shop, because that car that my grandson came to see, you set it up, and he wins because you set it up. So we're going to sue you too. So,
right. Yeah, it's crazy things like that. Yeah. You can sue anybody for anything.
Yep.
So yeah, everyone's protected in that case. So, but yeah, if we weren't an LLC, a legitimate government recognized company, we wouldn't have gotten the contract with Rich and Draiss Way Esports. We wouldn't have been able to do all the work that we do.
Yep.
We do a lot, like people don't realize, we do a lot of work with eNASCAR.
That's really
do
cool.
a lot of work, which is a lot of fun. But when you're sitting in meetings with the manager of NASCAR gaming and esports, and their director of social media, and all of these other big names, you're sitting there going, "Wait, I sure am glad I did my due diligence. I'm glad I covered my butt on everything."
Yeah. So let's jump back to Hankook Tire for a bit. What do you do with them for them? I mean,
so I guess I sort of went off on a tangent. So I went home for a couple weeks. I visited my parents and my family while I basically wrapped up the finding a job process, because I knew I love what I do, but working full time on the internet from home it's very mentally exhausting.
Yep.
Especially in the position that I was in, where the internet, especially the iRacing community, can be a very toxic place.
Yeah.
And
no kidding.
That mental drain on me was it was getting to the point where I said, if something doesn't change, I'm not going to enjoy doing this anymore. And the moment I stop enjoying it is going to be a really sad day. So I said, I'm going to go and we're going to automate. I'm going to bring more people on, which, that's more money going back into the iRacing community. Everyone that works for me, with the exception of 2 people, being the person that helps with basically formatting and documents and putting out statements, getting their thoughts on everything. And the exception of them, and with Michael, the guy that runs the Discord, everyone else is on iRacing, and every dollar that gets paid to them is going right back into the iRacing community. And I chose them because they are on iRacing.
Gotcha.
So the more people I bring on, the more money goes back into the iRacing community, which is how it should be. I think the more money a place makes, the more money that should go back into the community. But
that makes sense.
My thoughts and opinion. So I brought on more people to help pretty much automate the company. And at this point, I sit back and I make decisions and I race and I help out as much as I can.
Yeah.
But it runs itself at this point with the work of everybody involved. Good. And I'm so thankful for everyone on staff. But with that, I said, I'm not going to sit at home all day. I'm not going to sit and play iRacing all day and just collect, money doing that, which I could do. I could sit and do that, but I'm 23. I'm still young. I wanted to do and try something new. So I had an engineering degree from Purdue. I went to Indeed.com and I searched around like crazy for jobs, and I found one that looked really, really good at Hankook Tire. I got an interview with them, and they flew me down to come and tour the facility.
Wow.
I figured at that point, like, if they're going to fly me down and have me come look around their factory, it was probably a pretty good sign.
Yeah.
So I started looking for housing here, and I got my house. I started my job I was hired on as a process design engineer with the goal of optimizing the tire building process, making sure it's as safe as possible, and saving the company as much money as possible. And then I sort of got into it, and I'm now pretty much a quality engineer. I work in uniformity engineer. I work in the up in the main front office. I analyze a lot of data. I work to figure out why tires are failing, if they are failing at all. Make them as safe as possible for all of our customers. Make sure we hit all of our numbers and goals that we have.
Cool.
It's a fun job. I enjoy it. I really, really like it. It's an amazing community. I love the area around here. And one really cool thing about the company is Hankook is a South Korean company, and this is their only factory that they have in America. And this place is huge. And I believe they're investing a total of $1 billion back into the community.
Wow.
They built a police station, a fire station nearby. They provide over 1,000 jobs to people in the community,
cool.
and they're always hiring on.
Yeah.
It's the things they do in the community are the things we do, I should say, in the community are phenomenal. So I get to do that. And from 8 to 5, I get to go and be an engineer and work in an office with other coworkers and sort of take a mental break and step away during the week and go, okay, now I'm focused on building tires. I'm working at Hankook. I'm figuring out problems and putting my brain to work. And then I come home, and on the weekends, I get to race. At nights, I get to race or do fun interviews like this and talk to new people and try new things. And it was a really, I think it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made was sort of moving out here to my own little area of the country. My brother lives north of me. My parents live south of me. So I'm right in the middle. People can come visit at any time. And it's great. And I got my little cat here, Danica Catrick, who I adopted about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Yep. Such a great name. I love it.
We've our 2 cats, one of them was a stray, and it was found outside an auto body shop or a mechanic's garage. So we named that cat Clutch. And then we went back and got another one, the little one, and Sam said we got to name that one Bristol. So it's Clutch and Bristol are the cats and Molly the dog. Well, Jeff, I want to say thanks so much for the chat tonight. It's getting past my bedtime because I'm old. Now, I get up at 4 in the morning. So if somebody wants to get in touch with McConey Setup Shop and start talking about setups, how do they get in touch with you? What's your website address? Your Discord info? How does somebody that needs a setup get in touch with you?
Well, if you're looking for a setup, you can head to www.McConeySetupShop.com. We've got all of our information there. We've got all different things. We've got setups. We've got subscriptions. I wrote a book. I have setup guides that I wrote.
Oh, cool.
We've got coaching available, if I didn't already say that. We have merch, if I didn't already say that. With Martin Sports, they do an amazing job. We do a lot of different events throughout the year, so stay tuned and get signed up for it. A couple months ago, we did an event with Richard Childress Racing, which was a lot of fun. So stay tuned on more for that. Stay tuned on more for NASCAR stuff. There's no shortage. And right on the website, you can find our Discord information. That's a great place to join. Yep. Even if you never buy anything, just join that Discord, come ask questions, meet new people, race with them, talk with them, have a good time.
Cool.
Again, even if you've never bought anything, join up and just meet new people and talk about iRacing.
Great. Well, once again, thanks for making it a great show. Everybody says a lot of guys in my league, that was a great podcast. I said, it's the guest. I said, all I can do is ask the questions, have a conversation, because I certainly don't know squat about racing. Compared to like my son, he knows all the drivers, all their numbers, and I just a couple of years ago, I just got all the NASCAR drivers down, and then silly season they all changed. I'm still catching up from 3 years ago, but I do enjoy iRacing. The podcast started out as just a weekly update for guys in the league who couldn't get on the Facebook page or wanted to just see what was going on, and just started interviewing people. And I'm booked with guests through the end of the year, and I'm booking into January now. So Jeff McConey and McConey Setup Shop, McConeySetupShop.com, monthly subscriptions. You can buy the stuff online. They'll do coaching with you. You usually do paints, right? You do that too?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even mention that. We do paints, we do coaching, we do merch, we do this, that, custom setup, subscriptions, everything, setup guides, just a book about iRacing itself. There's so much stuff on there. Yep. Something for everybody.
And don't call them 2 minutes before your race or the day before. Remember the supply chain issues everywhere. Not that they've got to go out and buy springs or anything, but 4 to 7 day lead time you recommend?
4 to 7 days lead time will usually get you covered, no problem at all. The earlier, the better, though. The more information and the more information you can give us, the better.
Right, and even if you think that a white paint on your truck is going to be more aerodynamic than a metal flake, let him know. He'll just tell you, okay, and then build you the setup you need. And like anything, information is key. Jeff McConey Setup Shop, thank you so much for stopping by the Joe Sixpack podcast. Hope this brings you a lot of business. I certainly learned a lot. And have yourself a great week. And looking forward to seeing you around online.
Absolutely. I will see you around. Thank you again for hosting. And I will hopefully see you again here soon.
Okay. Have yourself a great night. Bye-bye.
You as well. Goodbye.
Jeff McConey Setup Shop. What a great interview. Decent guy. A lot of stuff going on there. McConeySetupShop.com. If you want to get some setups done, you can download them. You can get coaching done. They'll do paints for you. And again, 4 to 7 day lead time. Once again, thanks. Joe Sixpack Podcast and Joe Sixpack Racing League is a proud sponsor of the Lone Star Racing Toys for Tots charity race. That's going to be November 28th at 7:45 Central Time. Fixed Cup cars at Kansas, 150 laps. It's going to be broadcast by PTM Racing TV, Pedal to the Metal Racing TV. It's going to be picking up our Cup League broadcasts beginning Season 4. $15 entry fee. All proceeds go to charity. There's going to be plaques for the top 5 as well as some other plaques. Joe Sixpack Podcast is sponsoring 5 of those plaques. And for more information, you can look up Justin Johnson on Facebook or Lone Star Racing. Justin will be a guest on the Joe Sixpack Podcast Tuesday, November 9th at 8 p.m. So be sure to tune in there. He's got some great stories. Lone Star Racing raised close to $3,000 for a young kid with cancer. They raised a couple $1,000s last year for the Toys for Tots charity race. And really important this year, you get out there, and if you're in iRacing, you want to run that race. They're even giving away for a $10 donation a rig setup like that. So that's the November 28th, 7:45 Central Time, the Lone Star Racing Toys for Tots second annual charity race. Broadcast live, all proceeds go to charity, and you can enter for another $10 to win a great rig setup. The Joe Sixpack Podcast is the official voice of the Joe Sixpack Racing League. You want to find out more about our league? We run Cup cars, the Next Gen cars on Sundays at 4. We run trucks every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Legend cars alternating Wednesdays, as well as the Formula V Road Track League that's going to be starting in January. Pretty simple to get in. It's a league designed for casual and new drivers. Your iRating under 2,000. If you go over while you're in, you're grandfathered, because we got some guys that started out in the 1300s and now they're a little over 2,000, but you got to be under 2,000 to get in. Your safety rating, rookie 2.0 to A 4.0. And then we also dig a little deeper into your stats. We'll take a look at your races and see how many incidents you average per race. We had a couple drivers that we did not allow in, even though their iRating was good, their safety rating was good. Looking at their stats, they were top 5, 30 and 40% of the time, winning 20% of their races, but their incidents were really, really high. And sounds like aggressive drivers. It's a great league. We make a lot of friends. We do a lot of events, a lot of giveaways, etc. like that. That's the Joe Sixpack Racing League. You can look us up on Facebook for Joe Sixpack Racing Facebook page. Ask to join there. We ask you a couple simple questions, and then you can go to the league, apply to the leagues, and we'll be finishing up Season 4 pretty soon, doing some fun races during the Christmas break, and we begin recruiting for all 4 series sometime in mid to late December, with Season 4 starting up in January. So once again, this is the Joe Sixpack Racing Podcast, racing for the rest of us, and we'll see you on the track. Have yourselves a great night.